In 1879, an ambitious Arctic expedition set sail, believing they could sail over the top of the world, their destination. The North Pole, the ultimate prize of exploration, but a cruel truth awaited them in the frozen darkness. The USS Jeannette became trapped, crushed, and swallowed by the Arctic ice. What followed was a nightmare march across drifting floes, insanity creeping with every mile as the men realized no one was coming to save them. Welcome to Lost Expeditions, where true survival stories are carved into ice and fear. Today, we uncover the doomed voyage of the USS Jeannette, a mission fueled by hope, but destroyed by the Arctic itself. Stay with us until the end, because the final twist of this story will leave you breathless. America was determined to plant its flag at the top of the planet. The Jeannette, reinforced with extra iron, was believed to be unstoppable. Led by the experienced commander George DeLong, the crew carried enough supplies for 3 full years and the absolute confidence that science and bravery would defeat the Arctic. But no amount of preparation can conquer a place where the cold itself kills hope. They sailed into the Chukchi Sea, and then, without warning, the ice closed in. The Jeannette was trapped, a prison made of shifting ice walls stronger than steel. Days turned into months. The sun disappeared, and the Arctic began its cruel game, breaking both the ship and the men. At first, the crew stayed strong. They hunted seals, repaired equipment, celebrated holidays to keep morale alive. But every groan of the ice was a reminder that the Jeannette was slowly being crushed to death. Commander DeLong wrote in his journal, "We are drifting further from the pole, not closer." Days became weeks, weeks became a year. The cold felt endless, their world shrinking into a frozen coffin. Arguments became common, supplies grew scarce. Frostbite took fingers and toes, and the men began to fear they would be buried in a place no one would ever find. On June 12, 1881, the Arctic delivered its final blow. The Jeannette's iron hull cracked, splintering under unstoppable pressure as the ship groaned its last breath. The crew watched their homes sink beneath the ice. Now, they had only one path left: walk across the Arctic or die. Dragging lifeboats and what little food they could carry, the men marched over drifting ice that could split beneath their feet at any moment. Blizzards erased the horizon. Some men collapsed, never to rise again, and yet they pushed forward, chasing a tiny hope of rescue in the distant Siberian coast. Food ran out, skin blistered, eyes froze shut, and in that merciless world, leadership fractured. Some officers deserted, attempting to reach help alone. But in the Arctic, those who break away rarely survive. Dr. Ambler, the expedition surgeon, stayed at DeLong's side until the very end. He tended to the wounded, gave away his food, and refused rescue as long as others needed him. He knew the truth. Heroes in the Arctic do not wear medals. They die for their brothers. With only a handful of men left, Commander DeLong could no longer walk. Starving, freezing, he continued to write in his journal so the world would know how they fought. His final entry was short and haunting. Mr. Collins dying, Dr. Ambler dying, everyone dying. Then, silence. Survivor George Melville finally reached Siberia, barely alive, and returned to save whoever he could. But by then, most of his brothers were gone, frozen, forgotten under Arctic skies. The tragedy of the Jeannette shocked the world and haunted the families left behind. The Jeannette never reached the pole, but their sacrifice forced the world to face a truth. The Arctic is not a frontier to conquer. It is a force that decides who lives and who vanishes. Years later, the Jeannette's wreckage was discovered in Greenland, thousands of miles from where she sank. Proof that the ice carries secrets across the world, long after the men who lived them turned to ghosts. If this story moved you, join us on the next expedition. Subscribe now and help us bring more lost heroes back into the light. This is Lost Expeditions, where history leaves no one behind. The survivors of the Jeannette endured the unthinkable. Their courage, their sacrifice, echo forever in the frozen winds of the Arctic. This was only one chapter in humanity's relentless pursuit of the unknown. Join us for the next expedition. Lost Expeditions, real history, real survival.